Oh, hey guys. I think this is the end. It's a sad day, but I honestly think this is the end. I was hoping that it wouldn't be this early. But when the writing's on the wall, let's talk about it right after this. No, this isn't clickbait. I really believe this is the end, and I'm going to tell you why. I've been doing this YouTube thing for a good part of my adult life. I've been doing a lot of tech. I did broadcasting. I was, very well known in the broadcasting tech space. Almost 85,000 subscribers. I switched over here to video games. I did the whole home arcade space. I was one of the OGs in the home arcade space, and I just wasn't having any fun over there anymore. And so then I switched over to collecting, because let's face it, you run out of room for home arcade. And a second passion of mine was collecting retro video games, and I started to do that, and it was fun. I went out to pawn shops, I went out to Goodwills, I went out to Salvation Armies, I went out to yard sales, I went out to estate sales. I have videos on my channel about it. I had a lot of fun, with my kids, my family, going around and looking for great games. Games that normally to buy at a retro gaming store or retro gaming mom and pop store or something along those lines, or an exchange or a GameStop now doing retro. You could get it at a decent price, right? You could get those games that you needed for your collection, not just the commons, not just like, say, for instance, the Madden 03s for PS2 that go for like $1 or $2 a piece that you pick up. A pawn shop. You could go into a Salvation Army. You could go into a flea market or whatever and get Castlevania, Curse of Darkness, maybe a $60 game. You could get it for $1 or $2 to add to your collection. And not because, you wanted to one-up the person that was selling it and saying, oh, I got this next to nothing, which I hear a lot of YouTubers do. It's about getting the games that you need for your collection if you're collecting for a complete full set like I am, or you just want to build up a library so when people come over, they can experience the game and live that nostalgic feel that you had when you were a kid. But I'm afraid that journey has now concluded. So what does that mean? Steve, are you thrown in the towel? Are you done on YouTube? You're so close to 9,000 subscribers. I know your dream. You want to build this channel up and be able to hand it over to your son or your daughter and be able to let them take on the legacy and be able to continue this and build subscribers. No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 I'm not going anywhere. But I feel like going out to these places is done. I have to resort to now looking online or going to these retro gaming stores, these retro gaming overpriced stores, because a lot of them are overpriced. And I get it. They have to make money. And some of you might argue in the comments, well, no, what's fair is fair. And I get it. Nobody is forcing me to pay these prices. But as a collector, I feel that we're being taken advantage of sometimes. And I get it. It's the way of business, right? You can choose what you want to pay for, and you can choose if you want to buy it. And I know this is a different type of video, but I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say. In my area, unless I go to a convention at this point in time, or I go to a retro gaming store and I happen to know the person that's running this store, or I've made a connection and we become friends, and there is really no way to get deals on some of these games unless you're trading things in, or unless you fall into it because a friend of yours is getting rid of it, or a friend of a friend's getting rid of it, and they know you're a collector and they give it to you for next to nothing. Is retro video game collecting dying? Because let's face it, we all don't have the money to go out and go to a retro gaming store. And as I look through my collection here of NES titles that I'm going through to try to complete the whole North American collection, and I've been doing very well. I'm well over 500. The stack goes all the way to the ground. But as I look through some of my titles here, some of these games, like for instance, like a Bucky O'Hare, I don't know, that's like $150, $170. Like, to get a game like this, it's exciting to be filming this for YouTube and finding this in the wild. Being able to find this is just unbelievable. Maybe you pick it up at a yard sale because somebody had it, and not to resell it, because I'm not one of those guys that resell it. It goes right here on the shelf, or for instance, like another rare title, but it's Darkwing Duck, those types of things. And so for me, it's disheartening. For me, it's one of those like, man, I used to go to Goodwill every day. I used to go to the pawn shops every day, and you know what? I got confirmation from the pawn shop that I go to. They have a guy there now works there, and he used to be a video game collector, and he's got a lot of the titles that I need, but he's been selling things off slowly to get Magic the Gathering cards. He's into all that. And what he told me was, yeah, we don't put the real expensive games out there. He goes through them, and then they'll sell them on eBay or Macari or Facebook Marketplace. They're not putting it out there for guys like me to have a chance at it. They're trying to get top dollar for these games, these retro games, because he says, I could never get that price here in a pawn shop for it. Somebody like you is going to come in here and you're going to get it, and you're a collector. You're only going to pay a certain amount of money. And he's right. So in turn, he gets promoted inside that company, and we, the collectors that come in there regularly, now we can't get those games. So this video is being different because I want to ask you, in your area, if you collect, do you run into these same problems? Or is it just my area here in eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, that people have gone this way? I'd like to know if there's another solution, because even yard sales, I got to beat all the mom and pop video game guys that are out there trying to buy it for their store. And I can't fault them because they got to make money. That's their living. But in the same respect, I can fault them for taking advantage of the little guys. Have these guys taken the fun out of collecting retro games? That's what I want to ask you guys. Let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate everybody. Sorry if I scared you and thought I was going to go away, but I'm not going anywhere. Next week, we're going to have another brand new video on, I believe it's the X Arcade, using it with the Xbox 360. And showing you how that works, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of different videos coming for that, so stay tuned. If you like my content, consider subscribing, and until next time, guys, keep it buzzing.